Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I can really feel and sense each and every one of you. And I'm just so grateful to you for being here, for being part of our beautiful community here on YouTube. So in today's video, I really want to dive into some channel thoughts and downloads that I've been receiving that have been coming through within the last couple days. And do let me know, by the way, if you've enjoyed this style of video. The last few videos, and including this one, have been a bit more of this kind of free-flowing, channeled kind of style. And a lot of it has contained pieces of information that have been channeled prior to the reading video that then get elaborated on within the video. So do let me know if you enjoy this style. Of course, I'm sure I will still be doing many videos in the traditional kind of in the moment card pulling and tarot reading style. But what I wanted to address in this specific video, and I feel like this may have come up in a recent video but didn't get elaborated upon further, so maybe someone is manifesting through this further information. And this is about two timelines that might be pulling on you at this time. So, of course, we do pick up many different threads of energy throughout these videos, so only take these messages if they are really aligning with you in a personal and intuitive way. I might be speaking to a very specific portion of the collective here. But I was getting the imagery of crossed wires, almost like two timelines are crossing wires from a quantum perspective. And this is leading to the feeling of being torn in two directions, almost feeling as though one timeline is pulling you a certain direction and another timeline is pulling you a different direction. And something about these two timelines feels as though they do not mesh or harmonize, almost like a choice has to be made between one or the other timelines because they carry very different frequencies and therefore very different trajectories because every timeline trajectory is based on a frequency. So I feel almost as though it's almost like two different timelines, two different frequencies pulling on you at different times. So you might almost feel like you're zigzagging or jumping between these two timelines, where at times you feel pulled in one direction, then suddenly it's almost like the other timeline feels like it's distracting you or kind of pulling you towards it, and then you might get pulled the other way and back and forth. So what this might feel like as well is that you're not really fully making progress on one timeline because the other jumps in and starts kind of pulling you in that other direction. This is leading to this feeling of movement that is almost like that zigzag back and forth, but never really fully moving and making a lot of progress in one direction or the other. So, of course, this could be related to two different people or relationships, two different jobs, two different maybe life purposes. There might be two aspects of yourself that feel very dissonant to one another when they're both being simultaneously expressed. So you might feel as though you really want to choose a direction to focus in, choose an aspect of yourself to express, choose some thing in your life to really focus fully in on, because another major theme that's been coming up recently is that in focus there is great power, because focus activates that encirclement of protection around the goal or vision. But also I'm hearing startup energy. It's almost like in a chemical reaction, how there's a certain amount of energy input required to start the reaction. But I'm hearing the energy required to start things up is less than the energy required to keep something in motion. I'm no expert in science or physics, so you can let me know in the comments the specifics of this. But I know that there are physics theories or laws around this concept that there's a certain amount of energy required to start something and less energy required to keep it going. Almost like pushing a ball, and you have to do an exertion of energy in that push, but then to keep the ball rolling, you may not have to keep pushing it in the same way. So there's something coming up here about the startup energy required to really focus in on something and then to allow it to build that momentum where it kind of runs on its own or it keeps moving forward on its own. But the problem here is with these two different timelines pulling on you, it's almost like you're constantly putting in this startup energy and then getting pulled in the other direction and putting startup energy there and kind of going back and forth. And this might be leading to feeling almost like you literally have one foot in two different timelines. Now, there's a very important message coming through here about these timelines, which is for the collective I'm speaking to here, one of these timelines starts to feel very off to you as you begin to move down the path. So initially, you might feel inspired, you might feel pulled towards it, but then as you start playing out that timeline or moving in that direction or focusing in that way, you begin to notice that something about your reality or the way that you are responding emotionally or mentally to that reality feels off to you. I'm also getting that there may be some element of, and this won't be for everyone, but I'm hearing something about prying eyes or psychic attack, meaning there might be certain people or energies that want you on a certain timeline or a certain track or doing certain things that are more visible to them or more accessible to them in some way. And so part of why you might be feeling the pull to a certain timeline, I saw the number 717 for someone, is because there might be certain people or energies who want to be able to have greater access to you, who want you to be more visible to them or more accessible to them in some way, because it then allows them to get some kind of hit off of your energy, off of observing you or being around you more frequently or being able to access whatever you're doing. But it's to your detriment. It leaves you open, in a sense, to being vulnerable to the energies that are coming at you, because there are certain people who want you to be visible or accessible to them for the wrong reasons, who want to kind of feed off of your energy because they're not generating their own. And this is why a certain timeline or direction starts to feel off to you, because it's possible that the feeling of pull you were getting in that direction was more so about what other people wanted from you and less about what you truly wanted for yourself. So this might be something to analyze when it comes to feeling pulled in a certain direction that seems to distract you. There's something about this direction or timeline as well where you might start to feel as though with the Six of Pentacles reversed, there's an imbalance when it comes to give and take. Almost like you are giving and not really receiving in return. Maybe you are noticing some inequality about how much energy output you are exuding on that timeline versus what you're getting back. Now, of course, this could be a relationship where you're giving more than you are receiving frequently. This could be a group of friends where you feel constantly like you are giving advice, giving help, support, connection, and not receiving the same kinds of things in return. This also could be a job where you feel like you're being underpaid or you are doing more than you are getting back. But whatever this is for you personally, I feel like it gets confusing because you keep feeling the pull of this thing, this person, this group, this timeline. But then once you start moving in that direction, the offness that you're feeling is the inequality when it comes to the balance of give and take, because whatever is over on that timeline connecting with you is not generating its own energy. It's taking from you but not generating for itself. There's a very karmic element to this timeline, and that's why when you start moving down that track, something about it starts to feel very intuitively off to you. But the thing about it is, and the thing that's so confusing here, is that it seems like it tends to take time for that timeline to move to the place where you really begin to feel the offness. So what I mean is, initially there might be some kind of a honeymoon phase with it, or some initial feel good emotions. You might even feel like it's inspiration pulling you there, or it's intuition pulling you there. But as you get deeper into it, you're noticing this pattern where the deeper you get into it, the more off it feels to you. Almost like your intuition gradually over time begins to communicate to you how off that timeline is for you, but you might not actually get that intuitive realization initially. Initially, it might actually feel in alignment for you, but then as you follow it out, you begin to feel this tension. You might feel negative emotions surfacing within you without really knowing where they're coming from. You might just begin to feel very drained or very off in some kind of way. And again, it's because there's something very karmic about this timeline. Maybe there are karmic relationships, friendships, or people involved here. Maybe there are people just involved in their own karmic cycles or patterns that you are not meant to be acting as a bridge for or intervening with. People or things that need to, in a sense, go through their own karmic cycles, but you've already been through the tower here with the tower card in the reverse position. It's almost like people who are in the middle of undergoing lessons or things that you've already gone through yourself, and you are not meant to be revisiting old lessons. There's really nothing of value for you there. So I'm hearing the message as well, choose the destiny timeline. So again, one of these timelines, and the one we've really been focusing on identifying here, is the one that feels off to you. The one, by the way, this timeline may connect with an old version of yourself. So there might be a layer of ego death involved here in letting go of the version of yourself that may have needed to learn those karmic lessons, or that may have benefited from being engaged with that timeline. The confusing thing about it here is it seems as though in a past version of yourself, there was value to that timeline, or maybe even optimal value. This may have been the optimal timeline for you when you were a less expanded version of yourself, when you still hadn't learned certain karmic lessons. But at this point in your soul's growth and evolution, that timeline has actually become heavy and would be kind of a backpedaling in a sense. And that's at the core why it feels so off to you, because it doesn't align with the version of yourself that you've already expanded into. It's almost like going back into first grade when you've graduated high school. Here as well, though, we have this other timeline being presented to us. And this timeline resonates with this expanded version of you. But what I'm getting here is that you have to allow your desires to expand with you. So you may have actually had certain desires, things that you thought that you wanted on that previous timeline that no longer connect with what you desire for yourself in this expanded version of you. So some of what you might feel pulling on you are outdated desires, in a sense, things that the, for example, younger version of you, or the less expanded or spiritually wise version of you may have wanted for themselves. But know that as you've evolved, your desires have evolved with you, meaning the things that you wanted for yourself 10 years ago, 20 years ago, have actually evolved as well. So the things that this expanded new version of you desires, the things that will truly bring you authentic long-term happiness, joy, fulfillment, may actually look very different than the things you thought you wanted. And a message is coming through around releasing your grip on what you thought you wanted to receive what your heart truly desires and what you really deserve, and to really get real with yourself and to tap in deep to the desires that are really aligned with you at the core. Maybe this will involve some kind of journaling exercise where you're asking yourself, not just what you want, but why. What is your why? What is the core reason that you want certain desires? And in doing this, you might be able to sort out the core essence of what you want and to realize that this destiny timeline might look very different than you thought it was going to look, but it actually brings you the fulfillment of the core essence of everything that you actually desired at that deeper core level. It just might look very different on the surface than what you expected. And with the Five of Cups reversed, I see this message around moving forward. I'm hearing accepting the healing that's taking place, allowing yourself to move out of a lesson or to move out of a grieving stage or a heavy stage. Maybe this old timeline is somehow connected with grief or heaviness or heartbreak, something that you cycled through for a long time, that you healed. You learned all of the lessons that that grief or heartbreak or pain had to offer you. And now you're being asked to allow yourself to reap the benefit of the healing, that very intense process of healing that you did within yourself, to allow yourself to receive the benefit from that rather than just going back and revisiting the lessons that you already learned. So I am going to be pulling a few more cards here. But I also wanted to look back at my notes because I did write some channeled messages earlier on. Okay, so connecting with this destiny timeline, by the way, I do have a reading video from a few days ago about the so-called destiny track or destiny timeline that you might find beneficial. But here I'm getting the message, the fear of not being seen, the fear of being less visible. So this is a really strange kind of mystical concept that's been coming up, and it might connect with those individuals that want you to be more visible or more accessible because they aren't generating their own energy and they get a hit off of having some level of access to you. And the message here is that there's something connected with one of these timelines where you might be doing certain things out of kind of a habit or because of this fear of not being visible enough or not being seen or maybe not being heard, not being understood. So it's almost like this feeling of needing to make yourself overly visible or overly accessible because there's this fear of how you're going to receive the love, the connection, the support that you need if you allow yourself to be less accessible or allow yourself to be less visible. Now, this won't be for everyone, so only take this if this has been a kind of trail of thought that's been coming up in your own mind intuitively. But what I'm getting here is that for someone listening, there's actually power in allowing yourself to be misunderstood, in allowing yourself to not be seen or not be as accessible by people who want to access you or see you for the wrong reasons. There's great power in, it's almost like, it's like how the most valuable materials on earth tend to be the things that are the most scarce. So in a sense, when you are very selective about how you allow others to access you, and how you allow others to view you or see you, you are recognizing your value and therefore, in a sense, your scarcity, meaning not like scarcity mindset as in lack, but more so that you are allowing yourself to be this kind of scarce but extremely valuable material that is very difficult to access, very difficult to find. Because, in a sense, that creates this barrier of protection. It requires more energy for others to reach you, to access you. Therefore, those that get through that filter are more likely to be the ones who will really align with you at a soul level and bring deep fulfillment and connection, authentic, genuine connection into your life. I was also getting this vision of a library, and I heard that there's untapped wisdom or information at your fingertips that isn't being accessed to its fullest potential. Now, for some of you, maybe this is guidance to really go deep on learning or researching something that is in alignment with that destiny timeline, the higher of the two timelines coming up here. For others of you, this might be the Akashic Records, which is that invisible library of information that is stored within us and all around us, available for us to intuitively access at any time. And maybe this is asking you to tap into the deep storehouse of ancient wisdom that you hold within your very being. Now, to assist you in this process of tapping in deeper to your inner self and aligning with your highest vibrational timeline, I have created subliminal meditations through my app Sound and Soulful that are really powerful tools for shifting your energy and manifesting in your life. Personally, I began to see the most powerful results when I started using subliminals several years ago. So I became so passionate about them that I am now sharing them with all of you through my virtual collection of them that I've created myself. And as you can see on the screen, on this app, I have over 130 subliminals for essentially every area of life. So there are subliminals for physical appearance changes, for mood shifts, for mindset, energy clearing, love and relationships, and so much more. And when you sign up for a 7-day free trial account in the app, you get access to every subliminal I've created in 10 different background sound options. You can also read the affirmations while you are listening. You can create your own custom private playlists and even listen overnight while you are sleeping. Specifically for this reading, I would most highly recommend my subliminals called 7 Chakra Clearing and also my subliminal called Ultimate Alchemist Transformation. And if they both resonate with you when you read the affirmations of them in the app, then you could even add both of them to a personal playlist. But the 7 Chakra Clearing is a deep level energy clearing tool designed to retune each of your 7 chakra centers to their natural state of being, whereas the Ultimate Alchemist Transformation is more specifically curated to get the energy moving around your personal goals and dreams related to money, personal empowerment, confidence, love, relationships, and many other areas of your life as well. That Ultimate Alchemist Transformation Subliminal is very deep and covers many different areas of life. So I do recommend checking that out and seeing if it connects with you. And the link again to download my app is in the pinned comment and description box under the video. You can also find it by searching Sound and Soulful in the App Store. Okay, so it's interesting. In the last video, we talked about the gray man, and the gray man being this energy or spirit that would warn people to abandon their homes and to run to somewhere safe before a storm. And I don't know why this is just coming up now in this reading, but maybe you'll find some benefit from that previous reading video as well. Regardless, what I'm getting here is there is great power in knowing when to abandon something that's feeling very off to you, whether it's a relationship, a project, a social environment, a literal physical environment, maybe even some kind of thing in your life that you once felt a lot of passion for, that once felt like a life purpose, but just feels right now almost like trying to drive it forward with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brakes. When things start to feel that way, it could be a signal that it's time to abandon something in your life that has been feeling really intuitively off to you for a long time. And I'm also getting a message in connection with this to not make decisions motivated by fear. And it's funny because my guides were presenting life sort of like a video game, like a virtual reality of sorts. And the message coming through is make no decision based in fear. Fear is the bug in this virtual reality that distorts and glitches the game. In the absence of fear, there is clear guidance. So we might dive deeper into that in future videos, but I wanted to leave off on that message here. So I really hope you received something valuable from the reading. If so, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, join our beautiful community of like-minded, conscious, creative beings here on YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram at Magnetize Yourself, where I post more energy updates, inspiration, and information. And of course, if you do feel guided to the subliminals I've created, the link to download my app is in the pinned comment and description box underneath the video. Otherwise, I am sending you all so much love. Have a beautiful remainder of your day, and I will connect with you here again in the next video.